Hi guys, and welcome back to our next session, which is actually a really exciting masterclass delivered by the amazing Ruby. So I'm going to dive in and tell you a little bit about her background before we get started. But I think that this masterclass is actually really timely, just following on from Odette's, because it's really all about LinkedIn and owning your own story and bringing that whole PR notion on yourself in order to sort of get ahead in your career. So just a little bit about Ruby. So Ruby Lee is, she is a sought after business coach. So anyone that works within the business industry will know Ruby. She has helped guide many, many brands that I'm sure that you see regularly and live and breathe in your day-to-day lives. She is a digital nomad, which is something that I find truly inspiring myself. I think that being able to live and work and do what you want to do, no matter where you are in the world, is such a thing that I think we all aspire to. So we're really going to unpack that with Ruby today. But she's also the founder of Own Your Own Hustle movement, which is, as I mentioned before, it's just a massive a movement that so many business owners are a part of. But her stories and also her advice is really, really topical and perfect for all of you guys, no matter if you're studying, taking a gap year, or even you're in university yourself. So I'm going to hand it over to Ruby. So welcome to CareerCon, Ruby. Thanks for joining us.
Hey guys, hey Kira, thank you so much for having me. This is such an absolute pleasure. And I get to speak about one of my favorite topics, which is using LinkedIn as an opportunities platform. And this is one of the things I really want you to walk away with today out of this session, is exactly how Kira's just said it. You really have such an incredible platform available to you, not just from a career perspective, but from an entrepreneurial perspective. If some of you out there are watching on thinking, God, I'd love to start my own business, or maybe you already have, how you can really utilize this platform to raise your visibility and to be seen by a whole new market that you would never have thought you could reach. So let's jump into it, shall we, Kira?
Yeah, no, and please, guys, ask Ruby any questions that you have in the Q&A box, and we'll pop back in a little bit later and get those questions answered. So over to you, Ruby. Let's learn all about LinkedIn.
Okay, amazing. So as also some further context, before I started my business, which was going all in around 2.5 years ago, I actually was in HR as a recruiter, working in graduate recruitment in particular. So I've seen some really interesting profiles on LinkedIn. I've seen some really interesting ways that, grads or students have really positioned themselves on the platform to get that little bit further. As well as that, I use LinkedIn as a platform to foster my side hustle. So I had a full-time job in HR and also balanced my side hustle, which was in career coaching and resume building, all those fun things. So I had that dual sort of positioning on LinkedIn. One thing I will say is LinkedIn truly is a platform where you can expect the unexpected. I can go into so many different stories, and I want to share 3 different stories that's within my network and my client group of those who are aged between 17, actually even 16 through to 21, and how they've used LinkedIn as a way to invite those unexpected opportunities their way. One of the things that I love about LinkedIn is its algorithm by far is superior to most of your social media platforms that you would see out there today. So Facebook had its day in 2012. You could post whatever you wanted to on there and you would be seen by most people, if not all, in your Facebook network. We now know things are very different on the Facebook platform. Obviously, and a connection to Facebook owned by the same company as Instagram. If you've tried to grow on Instagram, it can be pretty difficult at the start, especially if you're wanting to grow your business, your personal brand. There's a lot that you need to get started in order to grow fast. LinkedIn has a lot of similarities to that of Twitter, actually. So when you start on LinkedIn as a personal brand, what you may find is your video gets hundreds, if not thousands of views within the first day. Now, when I say video, LinkedIn's best way for you to get in front of your platform and in front of your audience is to use video. So, exactly how you would do an Instagram story, for example. Anything that's under a minute does really, really well on the LinkedIn platform. Now, there's over 185 million users on LinkedIn, but only 1% of these users actually use it as a content creation platform. Isn't that just so amazing to think about it that way? The way I see it is it's not a bad opportunity to start creating your future, to really be seen, to have a voice, and to start your brand. So it's not just in terms of getting potentially noticed by employers. Of course, that would be amazing, as you're thinking about perhaps internships, graduate positions, junior roles that you can step into organizations, but also being noticed by potentially investors. So if you are an entrepreneur and you're thinking, God, I would love some funding for this really cool app or this great idea I have, investors are on LinkedIn, and also brands. Influencer marketing is becoming more and more popular on LinkedIn. So if you are heading towards, potentially starting an influencer-based brand or business, it's also a really, really enriched place to begin. So there's a couple examples I want to give you. One is one of the girls in my network. She's a 21-year-old fresh grad. She's just, finished off in economics and business. And she was so keen to start her own business. She was like, I'm not really set for that traditional pathway of going into a grad role. She wanted to really kickstart her own brand. And she started to make videos on LinkedIn, documenting her process of burning that midnight oil, of, starting her own website, how she was, going to position herself for her audience, and from time to time pitching her services and her products on LinkedIn. Not long after this, she actually had a little email hit her DM, or a DM hit her LinkedIn inbox, saying that there was a potential investor who was interested to find out more about her brand and to take her business to that next level. It's so interesting. They ended up having many chats. She lives in the US. They had many chats, was even flown to Sunnyvale in San Francisco to have more of a discussion, which was just absolutely incredible. And from there, her network just blew up and expanded like nothing else, just from showing up on LinkedIn videos and getting seen and heard and putting herself out there, which is so incredible. Another 18-year-old that I'm aware of became a viral blogger on LinkedIn. Who would have thought? And he was a really, really already quite, affluent writer. He loved writing, and he loved, assessing what was going on in the industry. And he would sort of put out these little blogs. LinkedIn has a blogging arm to their business called LinkedIn Pulse. So Pulse reached out to him and said, hey, dude, we're really, really keen on your voice, your tone. It's so perfect for the next generation of users on LinkedIn. Would you want to come onto our platform and be a guest blogger? He wrote his piece and it went viral. It had over 1 million views on LinkedIn Pulse, and he was able to then reach up to 500,000 followers on LinkedIn pretty much within 2 weeks of his article going viral. Absolutely amazing. And then from there, he's been invited to speak on TED and TEDx stages all around the world, just using his skill set in writing. So I think that was really amazing. The third example I have is a 19-year-old was really thinking to herself, she's not really had, a lot of luck with her grades at school. And she wasn't someone who would do a lot of extracurricular work. Her resume basically looked a little bit boring and a little bit dead. She's like, how am I going to stand out online? There are so many people out there who are going to look better than me on paper, but I know that I'm actually the person for this company. And she had this huge crush on this company she wanted to work for. And she started to use LinkedIn as a personal branding platform to position herself to work at this company. Now, there's no other social media platform out there where you literally can reach out to the head of HR of your perfect company, of the brand that you want to work for. There is no other platform that you can type into the search recruitment manager at dream company and you can message them directly. A lot of HR hiring managers, recruitment teams will have their LinkedIn messages directly linked to their inboxes. So what this means is when you're messaging them on LinkedIn, it directly hits their inbox. If you are applying for a job on platforms such as Indeed or Seek or other platforms like that, it goes through a big machine. It goes through what we call an applicant tracking system, and it just runs the algorithm for keywords and all those things that you hear. So LinkedIn is such a beautiful way to get in front of the right people, or at least just increase your chances to be seen amongst the thousands of resumes that one job that you might be going for. So in this case, this particular student went for it, used LinkedIn, and she was able to land her dream internship. The hiring manager noticed her name as it came up in the shortlist and correlated that with the message that she had written, went and had a stalk of her LinkedIn profile, got a feel for her brand, her voice, her blogs, her videos, and brought her in for an interview. And in the interview, she did the rest. So with all of that being said, I have a couple of to-dos for you as we wrap up today's mini masterclass. The first one is, if you haven't already got a LinkedIn profile, I would highly recommend that you start one. It's super easy. You could do it within 20 minutes, get yourself a photo that doesn't need to be necessarily super professional. It could literally be you up against a blank wall like I am, and just be you. LinkedIn loves authenticity, so you don't need to pretend to be somebody else or something that you're not. Be you. Number 2, get super clear about your goal on LinkedIn. Are you wanting an internship? Are you wanting a grad role? Are you wanting to reach the attention of potential investors? Are you just wanting to use it as a platform where you can go viral and be seen and heard for your own voice? Okay, so get super clear on that, because this is really going to help you in number 3, which is creating videos, creating posts, and being consistent. Just like with any other social media platform, you can't expect to just post one day a week and have it work for you. You're essentially only saying to LinkedIn, I'll have you work 10% of the time for me instead of at 150%. So for many content creators, we're posting 2 to 3 times a day on LinkedIn, and we're seeing incredible results. Now, with those 2 to 3 times a day, it could be 15 minutes, 20 minutes in total, but you're just dipping in and out of the platform, maybe, in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening, where you might be just posting a quote, a video, and a post of yourself. So without feeling overly overwhelmed by all that I've said, I'll open up to Q&A in just a second. Be consistent, know exactly who this platform, who you want to reach on this platform, and just, know that you absolutely have incredible unexpected opportunities waiting for you on the other side.
Oh, that was such a fast and furious and informative masterclass, Ruby. Thank you. We actually
I'm so glad.
We have some really great questions that have come through. So I'm going to just smash them through to you, and we'll see how many that we can get through, but they're awesome. The first one comes from Zoe, and she's asked, what are your tips and advice for reaching out to industry professionals on LinkedIn and personalizing invites?
Yes, so exactly that, Zoe. Make sure it's personalized. So if you've got a little script that you're copying and pasting to every single person in the industry, it's felt like, it's all an energy. When you reach out to somebody, just put in some extra little pieces of information that feels just so made for them. If you're reaching out to Kura, for example, you might want to find out a little bit more about Kura's story and why she started her brand and her business. So with any organization, it would be the same. So, the ethos or the philosophy of that organization, maybe a recent article that was published about them. Maybe it's about a certain leader in the leadership team that you really look up to, or that you would love to be mentored by when you are hired for the organization. So just making it that little bit more personalized will actually go a lot further.
Yeah, awesome. Great tip. I think this might actually lead in nicely to the next one, Ruby, which is, if I'm starting a blog, how do I brand myself on LinkedIn?
Oh my gosh, yes. So There's a couple of ways we can do this, but if you do have a blog that's sitting on your Squarespace or your WordPress, whatever site you've got your blog hosted on, one of the things that I will definitely advise you to do is LinkedIn has an articles feature. I love the articles feature because it truly is such an evergreen source for people to find out about you without your content being lost in the feed. So it's very much like Twitter. You might post something and then you think half an hour later, where did it go? It's just somewhere in the feed, but don't worry, it's doing its job. The articles section is different. So people can hit your profile and immediately see the articles that you've written. So rather than duplicating the whole process of writing a blog on your website provider, on your platform, and then sending it across to LinkedIn, what you can do is just copy the first 1 to 2 paragraphs of your blog, create a LinkedIn article about it, and then just one sentence to say, if you're enjoying this article, click here to read more, and you can hyperlink it out to your platform. So this way you're driving traffic to your own personal website without people just needing to stay on the platform on LinkedIn. Because I'm guessing if you've got a blog, potentially down the track, you've got some other services or some other, programs that you might offer your ideal clients. So that is what I would do. Make it look a little bit pretty with some photos and maybe just some pop-ups and whatnot, but get them to come across to your main blogging platform.
Oh, that is a good one. I've got the pen here. I think I might write that one down myself. Sorry. Thanks, Ruby. There's such it's a great time at the moment when, you can potentially, build your own personal brand and literally, manage it from, all of these free platforms. So it's all your tips is just so awesome. I think that's, there's a question that's come through about should you have a LinkedIn profile in year 12? And
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Just to elaborate on that too, should students have a LinkedIn profile? I mean, they're told to get their resume done and to have, a cover letter, but should they have a LinkedIn profile as well?
I love this question. Oh my gosh, who asked this question?
It's anonymous, unfortunately.
Anonymous. Okay, anonymous. Such a good question. I'm so glad you asked it. So I will just say a few things. If I could do it all over again at this time, I was back in year 12, or in VCE, I would absolutely use LinkedIn. When I was in year 12, I wanted to start a YouTube channel, and back then the algorithm was so different and I so wish I did it, but I was just too scared. But now I would definitely use LinkedIn, not necessarily just to find jobs and to use it as a resume platform, but to connect with people early. It always is like, that saying, your net worth is your network, and LinkedIn is your network. You have every single person out there who's on LinkedIn, who's willing to watch your videos. I swear you guys would absolutely blow LinkedIn up, because there's not that many in the next generation that really use the platform effectively. So here's what I'll say. When you are, let's say, looking for even work experience, or you're looking for that first job and you are interested to work with some dream brands, what we do as recruiters, so now I've got my recruitment hat on, is if we got a resume for a graduate role, and I don't want to scare you guys, there are thousands of resumes that do come to us. So it's the reason why we need a big applicant tracking platform. Otherwise, it just goes into the ether and it gets lost. So there is merits to the platform, so you get the response and you get to be seen. But let's say your resume comes through to me as the recruiter and I see your shortlist. Guess what the first thing is I'd be doing? I'd be checking out LinkedIn. I want to see, it goes hand in hand. Resume comes in and I'm going to see, is Sarah Taylor on LinkedIn? And if she is, I want to find out a little bit more about her, what's not on the resume, and a little bit more in the sense of what lights you up? What is it that makes you different from one candidate to another? What are you volunteering in? What sports do you play? What inspires you to show up? And what made you take this line of study? Why do you want to work with us? Your philosophy, does it match with our company values? So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, I wouldn't go as far to say that it's a disadvantage, but it would potentially raise the awareness a little bit more around who you are. So one more thing I will say about this is LinkedIn is run by Microsoft. It has a really strong SEO, really strong. So for most of us, if you're typing in Kura's name into Google, one of the first things you will see is Kura's LinkedIn profile, without a doubt. It just happens. It wouldn't happen for Facebook. It wouldn't necessarily happen for Instagram. With LinkedIn, yes, yes, yes. So if you type in Ruby Lee, it's likely going to be the first hit on Google. It's amazing. So I would say go for it. Year 12s, do it.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Awesome. And, it's, I think too, you made a great point. Like, you think of all of the people that graduate from a particular class. So, just say you're at Melbourne Uni and you're studying a science degree, and, there's probably around 300 to 400 students, and all trying to get a job within the industry as soon as that's over. And I mean, LinkedIn just sounds like it's one of the most perfect tools just to keep a little bit ahead of the next person within that, course, just to get ahead. So that's just such an awesome tip. And it kind of leads into the next one, is that someone said, can you give us some tips in regards to the algorithm? And I'm just sort of elaborating on their question, but what kind of things would get them, pushed forward? I'm just thinking in terms of like video content, or what works best.
Yeah, okay, so cool. There's many different answers to this, because as you know, with algorithms, it moves around all the time. Like every other month, who knows what they're doing in the background. They're just pulling all these levers. I picture these little, robots just going, no, we're going to turn that one off and turn this one up. But as of now, video is still going to get you the widest reach. They love video on the LinkedIn platform. The other thing I would say is LinkedIn uses hashtags. So it's very simple. We're not going to go in with, how on Instagram, for those of you that use it, if you hashtagged, like business coach or, student, you would just get lost on Instagram. On LinkedIn, you would actually get found. So make sure your hashtags are simple and they're easy and they're categorized. So use your hashtags, use video. And the other thing you can start doing is, as you're building out your network, you can actually start to tag a few people. So for example, you can just go at Ruby Lee. So if you're here and you want to take a photo and you're on LinkedIn, you can tag me. I will see your tag and then I'll repost it. So then this makes sure that your post goes out to everyone in my network. So I currently have 42,000 followers on LinkedIn. So if you do that and I reshare you, your profile will go out to my 42,000. So it's a really beautiful sort of webbed effect of how your profile can be seen. So tagging absolutely works as well.
Oh, wow. Tagging videos. That's awesome. I'm just going to keep on charging through these, Ruby, because the answers are just so good. We'll try to get through as many as we can. So someone named Kate. So Kate's actually asked, who is doing a good job at growing their personal brand on LinkedIn so I can follow them?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So many followers.
Other than yourself.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right. So let me open up my app and I'll tell you who's just like doing an amazing job, especially when it comes to, I'm trying to think about some that you guys might really love to follow. Okay. So Natalie Rizzo would be a really great one for you to follow. Riso is how you spell her surname. Someone else that you might love is Swish Goswami. So SwishGoswami.
Anyone that you mention, we will actually put, we will actually email out to everyone as well. So.
Yeah, amazing. I would start with these two. They just are so dynamic on the platform. They just really use it. How I was saying, post consistently. Both Natalie and Swish do it really well, where they have a mixture of what they're sharing and what's going on. And I believe they're both under 20 years old. So it's a really great, you'll feel really, you can relate to them. And then Quentin Allums is another that I absolutely love. So I'll send across their links to Kura.
Oh, that is, and Ruby, if anyone has any questions in regards to LinkedIn, because we haven't got through all the questions, but there are some really good ones in the chat box, and I think it'd be really helpful in terms of this kind of, uncertain kind of world that we're living in at the moment. Any little step above someone, or any way that you can actually learn more about ways to amplify your own brand, is really, really helpful. So can the guys reach out to you via your website, or?
Yeah, well, if you're game, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. So definitely find me and send me through a DM on LinkedIn. Well, there's a challenge. And actually, for those of you that do, what I will do is I'll send you through a sort of 1 hour masterclass all about LinkedIn.
Oh.
I think that'll really help you. So, but the condition is that you have to start a LinkedIn profile and find me. And then I will send you through that link. So I've got a masterclass called How to Be Unapologetically You on LinkedIn. You will love it. So send me through a DM.
Oh. Ruby, that is amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for your time. That was such an awesome session. And I think that lots of people get loads from that. So thanks for joining us at CareerCon, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. It was so much fun. Thank you, Kira. This is such an amazing conference. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, Ruby.